Hello my fellow weirdos, 'tis me, Marie McWilliams, Queen of Halloween. Self-appointed queen, but I'm still going to count it. How are you guys? It's spooky season. It is the time of year where us horror-loving weirdos get to really live our truly best lives, and I am loving it. Now, first of all, I have to apologise because I haven't been here as much as I would have liked to. Everything's just been a bit recently. You know how things can get with life in general. My motivation has been struggling for over a year now, and I kind of just have sort of enough motivation to get by, do the basics, you know, earn money to pay bills, wash, look after child, eat, all that kind of stuff. I don't have enough left over really to do the kind of creative things that I so enjoy doing, but I am going to try to make a conscious effort to turn that around, because the oxymoron is that the contradiction is that those things actually make me feel better. So I will try to come back here more. That's my point. But for this video, as you can see, I've gone all out. It's spooky Halloween. My shirt indicates, and this is a Halloween themed video. I've moved to my living room where some of my pumpkins reside. I have quite a lot of them because today's video is pumpkin themed. I had a little quirky thought for a video. I decided, what about pumpkin carving with a horror literary twist? Why the hell not? So I challenged some of my beautiful fellow lady booktubers on here to carve a pumpkin that has some kind of literary inspiration, whether it's an author or a character or a book, whatever it is, and to create a little video where they show their pumpkin creation and give us a little talk about what they chose and why they chose it. And then it's open to you guys to pick who the winner is. Put your votes down in the comments, and the winner doesn't get anything but the pride of knowing that they're the pumpkin queen. Let's go with that. So put your votes for the pumpkin queen down below. And without further ado, let me pass you off to my ladies, my lovely ladies, so that they can tell you all about their pumpkin creations, what inspired them, and you can do your voting, do your judging on the old pumpkin carving skills. Over to you guys.
Hey guys, it's Merce from Harpies in the Trees, where I review horror books with a supernatural focus. It is my favorite thing, so ghosts and haunted houses and demons and all that good stuff is really where I like to reside. Today I have made a jack-o'-lantern, and I based it off of a very scary and disturbing book that I read this year. It's probably one of the most disturbing books that I've read, I think, in a while, besides No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Nibble. So I knew that I had to make my jack-o'-lantern based on this, and it is Playing Children by Michael Schultz. And this book is very good. It's like a horror survival story about a guy who is looking for his nephew, and he's trying to track him down because the really tricky thing about this is that his nephew is dead. But he ends up popping up on Facebook one day. He finds out that he might be at this location. It's an abandoned orphanage out in the middle of nowhere. He heads over there, and he discovers a lot of things that he wasn't ever going to discover, you know, things he didn't ever think that would be true in his story. It's very wild, it's disturbing, it's creepy, it's spooky, it's supernatural from beginning to end. It's a fun, wild ride. I binged this. I couldn't stop reading it, so I read it in like a couple days. It was just so much fun, and I find myself coming back to scenes and particulars of the story like over and over again. So my pumpkin is inspired by the design of this book, and that's what I did here. It's just the shape of the eyes mostly, but I still wanted it to have a little bit of a jack-o'-lantern face, so I added the kind of more familiar smile, but maybe with a little bit of a grotesque skeleton nose. So this is my jack-o'-lantern. I hope that you check out Playing Children. It's going to be very good for the scary season. You really want something scary, you know, not sweet, not nostalgic, something real scary. this is going to be good. Thanks so much to Marie for asking me to be a part of her video, and I will see you guys next time.
Hello, Marie and friends. This is Regina from Regina's Haunted Library. I've got Lily here sacking out on the couch. It's a lovely Saturday, and yeah, we just carved our pumpkin. So I'm going to do a little insert of my pumpkin because it is so big and so heavy I couldn't carry it up the stairs to my library. So I decided to do, for my jack-o'-lantern, based on a literary work, is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Most of us know sometimes the name Frankenstein is mistaken for the creature, but I chose to do the Boris Karloff Frankenstein, and I bought the biggest pumpkin I could find in the shape of Boris Karloff's head from that movie or those series of films, and my husband did a wonderful job, actually. I carved it out, like I gutted it, and then he did the face, so you'll see it. And we even got bolts for the sides of the neck. And Lily helped by giving us moral support. So while I do a little reading from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is my favorite, not just my favorite novel, but my favorite book of all time, I'm going to show the jack-o'-lantern glowing right here at night to keep us company. So this novel, Frankenstein or A Modern Prometheus, here's a nice leather-bound copy from Easton Press, with a portrait of Mary Shelley. It's really incredible that she wrote this book when she was 18. And there's a wonderful background story to this book that I'm sure most of you know, but we'll save that for another time. So the story of Frankenstein is actually like a story within a story. It begins with an explorer named Robert Walton, who's trying to sail to the North Pole. So he's an explorer. He is like the modern Prometheus too, in that he wants to go past man's established boundaries, which is the theme in this book. And it starts with a series of letters to his sister where he describes sort of the mundane tasks of putting his voyage together. I say mundane, but this is not a mundane book. This is actually like a page-turning blockbuster, in my opinion. I never grow tired of the story. It's amazing. And I find the opening of this to be particularly chilling. So as Walton is sailing his ship north, they get stuck on the ice. So the ship's not moving. The crew is ready to mutiny because they think they're all going to die out there. So as Walton and the crew are frozen on the ship and the ship's not moving, they see in the distance this enormous man on a dog sled racing across the ice. And that image alone just always frightened me. And of course, they're curious about it. Then the ice starts to break up, and days later, I think, Victor is washed up and they pull him into the boat. And he is the one who tells the story of his life story of being Dr. Frankenstein and creating the creature and the creature's bride and what happened. So I'm just going to read just the last paragraph of that opening section because it's so dramatic. So this is after they pulled Victor Frankenstein into the boat, and he's in very bad shape, on the verge of death, and Walton and he get to know each other. He then told me that he would commence his narrative the next day when I should be at leisure. The promise drew for me the warmest thanks. I have resolved every night when I am not imperatively occupied by my duties to record, as nearly as possible in his own words, what he had related during the day. If I should be engaged, I will at least make notes. The manuscript will doubtless afford you the greatest pleasure, but to me, who know him and who hear it from his own lips, with what interest and sympathy shall I read it in some future day? Even now, as I commence my task, his full-toned voice swells in my ears. His lustrous eyes dwell on me with all their melancholy sweetness. I see his thin hand raised in animation, while the lineaments of his face are irradiated by the soul within. Strange and harrowing must be his story. Frightful the storm which embraced the gallant vessel on its course and wrecked it thus. I just love it. So thanks to Marie for including me in this fun presentation, and I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween season.
Hello, it's Alex, the Bookubus. Thank you to Marie for inviting me to be a part of this video. We were tasked with carving a pumpkin inspired by a book or an author. So yeah, let's see what I rustled up. So my inspiration for this pumpkin carving was vampire fiction. I am not actually sure what the first instance is of bats being connected to vampires. I don't know if it was Dracula by Bram Stoker or if that actually came before that, but I know Dracula was one of the first vampire novels that I ever read. And I've always really enjoyed vampire stories ever since. I think it's an idea that has been so enduring because it is so fascinating, and there are so many ways that authors can take the idea of the vampire and use it to tell very different stories. So you might think that all vampire stories are the same, but in my experience at least, they've all been very unique and done their own things with that idea. So admittedly, my typical pumpkin carving skills are like, you know, 2 eyes, a nose and a mouth. And I did end up doing a little searching online for some design inspiration for my carving. So I did find an image online that I liked the look of and basically just copied it. But I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And thank you again to Marie for including me in this video. I hope you all have an excellent spooky season and a happy Halloween.
Now it's my turn with my pumpkin. Now, I didn't think this through and I am filming it in daylight. So you're not going to be able to see it as well. But I will take some video footage when it's dark later on my phone or something to include in the video. But oh god, she's a big beast. This is my pumpkin. We've got a crow sitting on top of a skull with the words "Nevermore" written across it. So that's my pumpkin, obviously inspired by one of my favorite writers of all time, Edgar Allan Poe, because I am an Edgar Allan Poe. Oh! Okay. Sorry. I apologize. Oh, so nerdy. Anyway, yeah, so this was my attempt. It's not my best work, I won't lie. I have done better pumpkins. I like went too far with the Nevermore this way. But I mean, I think you can tell that that is indeed a skull, and there's the teeth there, and that is a raven there on top of it. And yeah, you can kind of read Nevermore. It's easier in the dark. It's better in the dark. So I will include a video of it in the dark for you guys to see. But the reason I've gone for Edgar Allan Poe, apart from being an Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm going to say that as much as possible because it just makes me titter. As you guys know, I have 2 favorite genres, We've got the classics, classic Gothic literature, and we've got horror. And my absolute favorite genre is where those two cross together and you get classic Gothic horror literature. Dracula, Frankenstein, you know, Carmilla, and people like Edgar Allan Poe. This is my beautiful Ethereal Visions publishing edition. This is like my favorite Poe edition that I own. I do own a couple. So I'm going to read, probably very poorly, but I'm going to read one of his shorter poems called The Spirits of the Dead, because I thought that was appropriate for Halloween. So cue some kind of black and white dramatic filter or something to make it seem like I'm a Victorian lady or something with my pumpkin boobs. Okay. See, messed up already. Cut that out, Ali. Thy soul shall find itself alone mid dark thoughts of the grey tombstone, not one of all the crowd to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude, which is not loneliness, for then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again. In death around thee and their will shall overshadow thee, be still. The night, though clear, shall frown, and the stars shall not look down from their high thrones in the heaven with light like hope to mortals given. But their red orbs without beam to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever which would cling to thee forever. Now our thoughts thou shalt not banish, now our visions ne'er to vanish. From thy spirit shall they pass, no more like dewdrops from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God, is still, and the mist upon the hill, shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token, how it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries. And scene. That language, I'm sorry. I wish we still spoke the way that they talk in classic literature. I think that the romanticism of classic Gothic literature and classic Gothic horror literature, everything is so vivid and romantic and dark and dreamy, like you're kind of walking through some kind of vision, and it just has this dreamlike quality to it that I find incredibly endearing and I'm very drawn to, and that's why it's my jam. It's my favorite favorite genre to read. I just love finding a new piece of classic Gothic literature that I can kind of get my teeth into, because they just don't write them like they used to. Now, don't get me wrong, I love modern horror, I really do, and I've read so many amazing modern horror books, and of course, you know, they all have their own individual things that make them great, but that era for me was like my favorite point in history. You know, when you're coming up and you're in sort of that Victorian era, when they were just utterly obsessed with the macabre, when you had penny dreadfuls and wax museums where they literally just molded out actual crime scene murders for people to see, because that's what waxworks were at first. It was like being able to see the crime scene live. They were like seances and Ouija and all that sort of, they were just obsessed with like the darker side of reality and life, and it reflects in so much of the literature from that kind of period of time right up to the Victorians, and I love it. I just love it. So Poe has written essays, he's written stories, he's written poems. I feel like there's something here for everyone, short, long, whatever, you know, it's just a perfect way. One of his collections for you to kind of dip your toe into the water. And I just think he was a master of his craft. And at this time of year in particular, you know, Halloween, I think of things like The Raven and The Telltale Heart and other stories by him, and they just have such a Halloween vibe about them. You know, they've just got this feel for this time of year. So that's why I chose Poe and why I have my little Nevermore Raven pumpkin. So that's it, guys. That's everybody's pumpkins. Let me know in the comments down below who you think carved the best pumpkin. Place your votes now for this unofficial competition with no actual prize. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, comment, do all that jazz to feed the algorithm gods. And I will see you soon. Bye.